Okay everybody, welcome to the Netherlands. I first want to show you something really special. So maybe if we take a look over to the left, I hope you can see a castle, and that is a 12th century castle. And the 12th century castle of the town of Montfort in the south of the Netherlands. If it looks like several styles together, that's exactly right. It's several styles from the several different centuries together, and that is very normal for castles. They were built, they were half destroyed, and they were rebuilt, and they were enlarged, and so that's very common for castles to be kind of like that. This place is at the 52nd degree north of latitude, excuse me. We're about 12 degrees east longitude. And being at the 52nd degree latitude means that you are in the temperate zone, just like most of the United States is in the temperate zone. And as you know, in the temperate zone, the kind of weather is dominated by the mixing of cold air from the polar cell versus warm air from the Hadley cell, which brings up the tropical air, and the mixing happens through fronts and areas of high and low pressure, and that's exactly what has happened here strongly in the last few days. If you look at the clouds now, it looks like relatively boring weather, but if you keep in mind the systems that pass through, then you may sort of expect that in front of this there was a front that moved through, and this has happened very strongly over the last 2 days. Very large amounts of rain, 200 millimeters of rain, which is really unusual for a few days in summer. And sadly this has led to accidents, floodings, and in fact also 50 dead, very unusual of course, in Germany, about 50 kilometers that way to the southeast. So we've had a lot of rainfall here as well, where we stand today. If we leave aside the accidents and the casualties, then we can get something interesting from this. So if we look over here, we have a small system of a mini river, basically, that formed in this yard. Of course, when the rain falls down, water is collected from the sandy patches over here. Not all the water can infiltrate. It happens so quickly that hardly none of the water evaporates, and so the only alternative is for the water to flow down sideways, and it actually forms a mini river. So if you come a little bit closer, we can see that two mini rivers have formed, one from the right, one from the left, and they have both eroded. If you look really closely, let me grab the camera a bit. If you look really closely, then here on the left, you see that river, small tiny river of water, has cut into the remainder, into the rest of the sand. You can think of that as the rest of the landscape if you want. And the same happened over here on the right. Apparently, we must conclude that water was moving fast enough and did not have so much sediment on board that it could no longer erode. And so it did erode, and it cut down into its own landscape, made in this case out of soft sand. All that erosion led to water that was very rich in sediment, and from just about here, this zone, we see that the river has stopped eroding, could no longer carry all that sediment. You see also the different mini channels within the river here, typical for a braided river system that is drowning in its own sediment. And if we then follow this a little bit further downstream, then we see that we have a beautiful set of distributaries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tell me when to stop counting, because it's a lot of distributaries. All of them spreading out that water and that sediment as it reached its local base level, which is the road that I'm standing on. And as it reaches this local base level, of course, water velocity drops, and all the sediment must be dumped. And we see the dumping of sediment beautifully illustrated over here. If you come really close, perhaps, we see that these different distributaries are all dumping their material right when it hits this local base level, this local water level. So small deltas are being formed here and here and here. Every small distributary forms its own small delta, which overall adds up to a giant, beautifully shaped really traditional delta like the Nile Delta is as well. The last thing I want to point out here is that we see also that the larger grain sizes, so the small pebbles and so on, have been left a little bit further up. That's where the water stopped being able to move them, whereas the finer material has made it further down. This is finer sand, so made it further down into the delta, all the way at if you want, the coast, the mini coast here. And then the last thing is that we see this water being very murky, very not transparent, and that means there is suspended load, there is clay in this water, and that has made it all the way into our mini ocean here. It will take about 2 days for that to settle down. So with that, thank you. That was the Netherlands, and see you soon.